All right, let's hop in. So we are going to talk a little bit more about John Maxwell tonight. Dive into that next section of the leadership stuff. But before we go into that, we wanted to talk about just some promotion month thing, because most of you guys on here are working towards Diamond this month. So we just want to like reiterate some things to make sure that you're doing and following up on and all that good stuff. So first things first, we're still having a huge issue with people not having auto shipment set up or being commission qualified. And I know that I preached about this the other day in the Diamond group, but for real, like there's a lot. So please make sure that you're going through not only your personally enrolled, but down in your downline, because there's a ton of people that are still on commission hold that are not going to be commission qualified this month, don't have auto shipment set up. So work on that for sure, because a lot of you have already missed fast starts for this month. And some of you are coming up within like a day or two. So just make sure that they're commission qualified. Go in and double check everything so that you're not missing those $100 bonuses. You guys, that's like an easy $100. So just make sure that's not getting missed. I have been personally for me, and you guys obviously can do things how you want, but kind of what I have adopted. And I was showing you guys this on the Diamond thing the other day, but like keeping track of my fast starts and stuff, my cabs and all that. I have been, and it's actually been a really good month for me. Reedy too, there you go, as far as loyal customers go. So I've been trying to place them where I can, but I absolutely positively do not place loyal customers under people that don't have an auto shipment set up. Do not do it. I don't. So I don't know, maybe you want to tell your people like, hey, Jess loves to help us with customers, but not if you're not going to be commission qualified. It's a waste for them, it's a waste for me. So I would just kind of reiterate that with your team as well, as far as like, you know, like wanting to help each other with customers and distributors and all that, but they got to put in the effort as well. So auto shipments for me are a must. And then I've had a couple questions this week too about, we're missing a ton of people on here, but it's okay. I'm going to keep going. About promotion announcements. Who makes them? Who posts them? Great question. If you are making a promotion announcement, it should be for somebody that you have personally enrolled. Okay. So unless somebody on your team has an upline that quit, the personal enroller should be the one to make the promotion announcements. Okay. That's just kind of across the board how we do it. Now, another question, well, can multiple people post it? Absolutely. Okay. So let's say that like I have somebody who goes Diamond this month. Okay. If I enrolled them, I'm going to make the announcement, but like if they're on your team, absolutely make an announcement too. Like you want to show that your team is growing, but that's been a question I've gotten 3 times this week. Like who makes it? Are they, if they were placed in my downline, like, do I make it? If their personal enroller is still working the business, that's who should make the initial announcement. Okay. And then also, Ashley was just talking about this earlier, like, and this should not be just in a promotion month, but kind of a good rule of thumb is just kind of go, by through each week and kind of do some self-evaluation. Being self-aware about the effort that you're putting in or what you need to do more of. Okay, what did I do this week? Do I feel like I'm getting out of it what I wanted to put into it? Do I need to do more of something? Like going through each week, especially in a promotion month, to increase what you feel like you need to be doing more of, stop doing what you feel like is wasting your time, and just kind of being self-aware of your own efforts in a month like this. Okay, Reedy, go ahead and hop in real quick. You're good. I'm trying to, there you go. Go.
I think we were doing it at the same time. Okay, so I just have a couple of announcements. Guys, you got to use the push groups. Like, I'm looking at the views on the videos, and the views aren't matching how many people should be viewing those videos, and you want to really try to get caught up in them that day. Because if not, if you have like 3 or 4 days worth of stuff stockpiled, that's when you give up. That's when you get overwhelmed and shut down. And that's when you've already given up on your promotion, because those are tasks that you need to be doing to promote. And so I don't know, I just can't reiterate that enough. Be present in that group. If you don't do it immediately, get back to it. Don't let yourself go to bed that night. I'm telling you, you can go with a little less sleep to get this stuff done. Nobody is any busier than anybody else. Like, we all have families, we all have kids, we all have flu yuck in our house. So nobody's got anything else going more than anybody else. You thought I was going to be fun, and my red is like, the other thing is, you've got to check that downline activity report. And in Boss Babes, I posted like a daily leader checklist. Like, you actually need to print that off and look through and check those things off every single day, because if not, you'll miss something. When you're going for a promotion, 30 BV can make or break a promotion. It can really make a huge difference. So I'm telling you, I'm sure maybe other leaders on our team have been there for a long time, but like, my own personal team is at the point where I'm seeing people in my downline activity. I have no idea who they are. I have no idea who they belong to, because they are so deep in my chart. There's no way I can spend 10 minutes to figure out who they belong to, where they are on my chart, how many loyal customers. I can't do that anymore. I used to be able to look and go, oh, she has 2 more, she needs to move them. I can't do that anymore for my entire team, and I'm sure none of the other leaders can do that either. You have to watch it every day. People in my own personal downline miss fast start bonuses because the customers are there, they're just not getting moved. So you got to stay on top of that. Once an evening, you get 72 hours, so that's 3 days. Those kinds of things should not be missed. The other thing is, like, going along with the push group stuff, like I know for me, I'm getting questions about things that were explained in those push group videos or in the tips in there. So that tells me that people aren't doing them. Like, I promise you guys, we're trying to pare it down to get it to the bare essentials of what you really need to focus on to promote, because we're trying to help you work smarter and not harder. So please just go through those. I can't say that enough. The other thing is, and I just did a video about it, the host of posts. If you are just relying on the post that says, hey, I've got some freebies, you're not going to get the amount of host to posts going that you need to help yourself promote. Because when you're looking at a diamond promotion, you're looking at 10,000 volume. 10,000. That's a big jump from even if you were at Emerald. And if you're going from Ruby to Diamond, that's a huge jump. It's totally doable, but you got to get yourself doing host to posts, and you got to get your team doing host to posts. And I'm talking about the kind where you print out your friends list and you message every Joe Schmo on there, unless they are in some other kind of network marketing company. You can't take it personally if they open it and don't respond. I legit get responses from people back from June. Every once in a while, like, hey, so sorry, I meant to get back with you. I'm like, that's all right, girl. Can you host a post for me? I don't care when you get back with me. Or they might open it and read it and never get back to me. I don't care. I'm moving on. Like, don't get bogged down in that crap. Move on. You've got at least 1,000 friends. Like, move on to the next ones. So that really is going to be the ticket, and you got to teach your downline to do it. I don't care if they joined 2 days ago. Teach them how to do it. And I love you. You can do this. You really, really can. I'm in my coach mode because I'm speaking with love, because I think
it's go time. It's go time. Right.
It's right in your hands, and we have so much month left, but you can't waste a day. You can't waste a day, and you can't waste 1 ounce of BV on thinking I'm going to do it tomorrow, because you won't.
Amen, sister.
All right.
All right, Christy Smith, you're up, girly friend. I'm unmuting you. Okay, there you go.
Am I unmuted?
Yep.
Can you hear me? Oh, I'm cutting off my head. Sorry.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, so not to reiterate too much of what Reedy and Jessica already said, but I would say the same things. One of the things I would say is be in touch with your team every day, whether that's just good morning in the morning, how's everybody doing? Like right now for me, and I know when I got to that point in the business, I had multiple different chats going on because you have different things that different people need. So you probably have a couple people going for Ruby under you. What do they need? And so be able to help those people with what they specifically need, because when it gets to this point and you're working so hard, you don't want to go through 1,000 chats. So I think it's important when you say, okay, Ruby leaders, like let's look at your volumes, know where your volumes are, know where. And so for those people, you need to do that. You need to be able to say, do you realize that such and such doesn't have an auto ship going? I messaged somebody yesterday, such and such doesn't have an auto ship. I would help you with loyal customers, but not till she gets an auto ship. So helping them read their charts, having charts printed out saying, this is what I've got on my chart for you. And I have these everywhere. This is what I've got on my chart for you. Is this what you've got? This is what the volume I've got. Is this what you've got? Where do we see any discrepancies? Making sure that like you guys are constantly looking at that. Credit card declines every month. Those are another thing that can really like make or break. So just reaching out to people and your people under you may not even realize that somebody's had a credit card decline, but you can run that report. So just sometimes, like I can remember when I first started, I didn't even know, like Lindsay was above me and was like, who's got this person? She's got a credit card decline. I was like, oh, it's my girl. Like, and so I didn't know. But now I know how to do it. And so I've got to help others, and we all need to help other people under us do that, because those volumes really, really count. Find your leaders and have them help you, because like Reedy said, 10,000 in volume is a boatload of volume to get on your own. So as you are, as I was messaging every Joe Schmo yesterday about host to post, I messaged my people who I thought were going Ruby or Emerald this month and said, this is what I'm doing today. What are you guys doing? And so just trying to get people on board and, motivating each other, but just having that constant communication with them is super important. That's all I got.
Fabulous. Okay, perfect. And she's exactly right. And especially you guys, because so many new people have been coming in that are filling those spots on your diamond charts or emerald charts or whatever, like they don't know, right? So make sure that you're checking like declines. Make sure that you are telling them, hey, this is the volume that you need to get to 400 this month. Or here, checking those volumes. They don't know how to do that. And you can't wait until the 25th and then tell somebody, you've got 5 days to get 200 BV. Good luck. Like that's not how you can do this, especially not in a promotion month. So make sure that you're checking those volumes. If you are unsure, if you don't know how to check the volumes, you're not sure, double check. You guys, I'm going to tell each and every one of you right now, reach out to me. If you need help figuring volumes, and I know that Christy and Ashley and Sarah and Lindsay and everybody feels the same way. Like if you need help double checking those volumes or not sure you're doing it right, please ask. There would be nothing worse than like being afraid to ask, like, is this matching up? And then you getting to the end of the month and realizing that, you missed something that you needed. So please, 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 please double check. Reminder, if you're going for a bonus, you need that 150 in personal customer volume from 2019. Okay. That is not, don't just take that from your PBV. That's not just your personal volume, because that includes your own orders too, right? This is just new customer volume in 2019. You need 150 to hit a bonus this month. And make sure that your rubies, or not your rubies, but make sure that anybody that's promoting under you understands that as well. Okay, because that's going to be like you're good for the year, but make sure, like if you're going for diamond this month, like make sure that you're not missing that vital step. Okay, and then I would be using stories like a mother right now. You guys, every single distributor and loyal customer I've signed in February and March came from stories. All right. That is the money pit right there. That money pit, that doesn't sound like a good thing. That's the money right now. Okay. Like that is, I would use it like crazy. Don't forget, we set up that new page, that's new stories page. So if you need help, ideas, use that. But that's huge, 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 huge right now. Okay. 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 Any questions as far as what you should be doing this month? Going for bonuses, going for promotion, anything that you guys have questions on right now before we jump into the John Maxwell stuff? We good? Okay. Okay. All right. So I got a lot of really good feedback last time that we started kind of going into the John Maxwell stuff, because I feel like this really kind of dives into everybody's just like, I need like general help in leadership. Okay. So I feel like this is good for all of us. So I'm going to keep giving like a little bit of it over the next couple of weeks. And hopefully this will help you. But tonight, the biggest thing that we're going to cover is basically like time management versus priority management, who and where to make sure that you're putting your time, for those of you who are like run yourself ragged, crazy busy. Okay. So let's talk about this. All right. So this is section 2, which is called the keys to leadership. Okay. And he says that time management does not exist. All right. We all get the same hours in a day. It should be more called priority management. Okay. And in this section, he talks about the 20-80 principle. Basically that what the 20-80 principle shows is that 20% of your priorities will give you 80% of your returns. Okay. So if you spend 80% of your time on those top 20% of your priorities, you're going to get a bigger return. Okay. So basically 80% of your time on just 20% of these activities, okay, are really going to be what is bringing you the income, is bringing you the return. He says doing too many things or doing the wrong things are not absolutely positively not going to get you to where you want to be. Just because you have a full calendar or because you have a busy day or you're doing all these tasks doesn't mean that you're going to get to where you want to go just because you're doing a bunch of things to keep you busy, basically. Okay. He says that basically this like 20-80 principle works in everything in your life. And he says that for him, for John Maxwell, he says once he kind of grasped this idea, it completely changed his life. He says if you start to apply this 20-80 principle in everything that you do in your life, specifically business, more importantly, it's going to be a game changer for you. And basically he says, you know, it's a way to work smarter and not harder and how to prioritize where you put your time. So he says, let's say that you have a list of 10 priorities. So let's say that this is your 6th list, only let's say it's like a 10 list. Okay, let's say that. He says 2 of those things on your list are going to give you 80% of your return. Okay, are going to give you 80% of the most income producing activities, basically. Are going to just be 2 of your 10 things, right? He says this works in everything. For example, you know, 20% of the roads have 80% of the holes. 20% of the students participate in 80% of activities. 20% of customers give you 80% of profits. He said this absolutely works across the board in everything that is in your life. Okay. He says that 20% of the people, let's say 20% of the people on your team take 80% of your time, but almost always it's the wrong 20. Okay, and we're gonna talk about this. Okay, 20% of the people on your team are taking up 80% of your time, but more often than not, you're spending your time on that wrong 20. Okay, he says basically, and I will get into this in a minute, but he basically says like the people that are constantly coming to you every single day, needing more and needing more and needing more, questions, those more than likely are not your top 20%. Your top 20% is busy doing the things that they should be doing, so much so that you hardly are hearing from them. Like you're checking in on them. Hey, do you need anything? You doing okay? Everything good? I'm here if you need me. He says that's how you know, that's a good indicator of who your top 20% are because they don't need you. They don't need you to walk them through everything, right? He says you'll really look at yourself and look inwardly and be self-aware and knowing like, would you be in your top 20? Would you be in your top 20%? Okay, with your activity, with everything that you're bringing in and what you're doing on a daily basis, would you yourself be in your top 20%? He says a good way to look at this, or actually at the end of this, Joel Dunn said, who's in your top 20%? And he says, sometimes it's hard to take the heart and emotion out of it. Sometimes we love everybody on our team so much that we kind of group them into the top 20%, even though we know like they probably aren't, right? He says eSuite doesn't lie. That's an easy way to go and see who's bringing people in, who's doing the things, right? It's easy to go in and look in your eSuite and see who are my top 20%. Where should I be putting my time? Okay. Because you cannot spread your time so thin across every single person on your team. You can't. All right. You're going to get to a point where you absolutely can't do that. Okay. So he says, you know, how to spend your time. Number one, he calls these the 3 R's. Okay. Number 1 is requirement. So what do I have to do that nobody else can do but me? Okay. So these are your, like, where your time is going. Your number 1 is requirement. What do I have to do that nobody else can do but me?
Can I interject for a second?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
But that makes total sense. When you look at when we were talking about charting, who do you take care of first on your chart? You take care of the places that no one else can help you with. So that fits right along with John Maxwell. Proceed.
Very good. And then he says, number 2 is return. What gives you the greatest return, or the greatest income, or the greatest like money making activities when you do it? So like, what's the most profitable for you? Like, is it host to post? Is it, what is it that when you do it, you know that it's going to work well, and that you know that helps increase your volume, that helps you bring in distributors? What are those activities that are bringing you the greatest return? And he says, basically, you can figure that out in a couple different ways. He says, what are you good at? Like, what are you gifted at, right? And past experience, what do you have proven success in doing? Like, this is what I've done. This is what, and this is, I signed distributors for me. Let's say this month it's Stories, right? I know I have proven success in signing loyal customers and distributors through Stories. So I know that that's one of the things that I need to include in my in this, right? And then number 3, what are you learning and growing in? Because usually what you are learning about or growing about is something that you feel passionate about. And that almost always is going to be one of your biggest rewards, one of your biggest things that you're going to make the most profit at, because you're passionate about it, right? What do we know about excitement and passion? That's the key, right? So what are you learning and growing in? And then the other third R is reward. What is the most rewarding to you? Okay, so what feels the best? What do you love the most? What activity do you just really enjoy doing? Because that's what you're going to naturally gravitate towards, okay? Which is probably going to then increase that profitability with that. At the end of this Zoom, Joel Dunn got on and he said, I'm going to make this easy for you. He says, there are 2 things, okay, that will bring you 80% of the return in this business. Only 2 things, okay, your top 2 things that are going to bring you 80% of your return in this business, and that is adding new people to your list every single day, okay, so that's adding to your potentials list every single day, and bringing people into your team every single day, whether it's a customer, whether that's a teammate, whatever. If you're not bringing somebody in, you should be adding to your hundreds list, right? So he says, those are the 2 activities. That's it. Like that's what brings you income. Those 2 things. And then John Maxwell goes on to say, like, that you have figured out what your top 20% of where your priorities should be when you kind of like have those 3 R's, the requirements, the returns, and rewards. You kind of have those figured out. Like, they're kind of all in line, and they kind of, are you're just kind of doing your thing. That's when you've got it figured out. But he says, like, this takes time, and that's what most people don't understand, is they think they're going to jump in this business, they're going to figure this out. They're going to have all of these, their R's are all going to be in line, and they're going to be good to go. And he's like, no, like, absolutely not. Like, this takes time, but most people don't stick around with anything that they're doing for long enough to figure it out. And he says, like, this is where he feels he is in his life now, is that now he's got it figured out. Like, where does he need to, where is he required to be? What's bringing in the biggest return, and what feels the best to him? Okay. So he said, basically your ultimate goal here is to feel like what is required of me gives me the biggest return, and it's my greatest reward. Okay. And he says, with time, you're going to become more productive, and you're going to have more margin. Okay. So let's talk about this. He talks about what margin is. Okay. And he says that margin is the space between what you're doing and the limits of what you can do. Okay. So he said, they kind of, think about this as like work hard, play hard. Okay. So basically margin is that space of time that you have to think, to be creative. Okay. That's kind of like your downtime, let's say. All right. And he says that one of the biggest keys to leadership is, being able to think bigger, right? Dream bigger for your team. Cast vision for your team, for the people that don't see the possibilities of what can be with this. Like, that's your job as a leader, is to show them, to get them excited, to cast that vision for them before they start bringing in an income, right? Because otherwise we lose them if you're not casting the vision of what is possible. So he says that's one of the biggest things to do as a leader. But if you get so busy in just the little daily tasks that you don't give yourself that time to dream and to get creative and think of new things, then you start to lose your leadership edge with your team. Okay? Because then you just become, not somebody that they necessarily want to follow, right? He talks about, like, your team can't catch the vision if you are not casting it. I love that. And he says, to be honest with you, he said productivity and margin are equally as important. Like, your work time and your time to just rest and think and be creative are equally as important as the other. But most people forget that downtime. They forget the time to be creative and to think and to learn and to grow. They forget to do that, or they feel like they don't have time to do that. Okay? He says that people are always, 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 always going to need your time. Always and forever. But you have to create that margin, or else you're going to lose your leadership, basically. Okay. So then you have to think about, okay, well, people are constantly going to need more of me. They're constantly going to need my time, right? As I rise up in leadership, I'm going to have more and more people relying on me. So then you have to get a little bit more picky and choosy about where you send that time, where you spend that time. Okay. And this is how he gets into that. He says, basically, that the biggest value of that downtime is you get your energy back, right? You get excited again. You get revved up again, and not like, oh my God, like, I can't, like, I just can't. You guys, I have those days. I absolutely have those days where I'm like, I can't answer one more message. I'm just going to turn off my phone for a little bit and chill out. Okay. That is okay. That is 100% okay. All right. So that's energy renewal. Okay. And you can feel when you need that. But that's also creative thinking time again. Okay. Now, at this stage, guys, in your business, don't just rely on your diamond uplines to do that for you, to do that for your teams, right? Like, it shouldn't all be for them to come up with contests and fun ideas. It shouldn't all be up to them to, make sure everybody's staying motivated or, answering questions. That absolutely positively is the job of a Ruby leader. And once you start doing that now, you're going to get so much better at it. Okay. So don't just rely on, like, as I feel like a lot of times they're like, oh, my diamond and aboves handle all that stuff. Okay. I want you to start taking more of that on. Okay. He says that, the 20-80 rule, putting that into play with priorities, but also in how you deal with people. All right. So he said, think about it like this. If you have 10 people on your team, only 2 of them are giving 80% of the return. So basically only 2 of them are bringing in 80% of, let's say, the volume, okay, on your team. And if you think about that, it's probably dead on. Okay. 8 of them are only going to be doing about 20% of what you're bringing in. Okay. And here's the thing to think about with that, guys, is to think about, if 2 of the 10 on your team are really like your workers, they're like your all-in workers, think about how normal that is across the board. Okay. Oftentimes we get so bogged down with, if I only had this, if I only had someone that worked, if they only did this, if they only did that, right? I hear this every single day. But if you think about that principle, that's just normal, right? That is 100% normal. And I think I did a video last summer about when I went through the people that I have signed in my 3.5 years, only 24%, guys, only 24% ever even have done anything. Okay. So, I mean, this is 100% dead on. So basically he says, as a leader, you have to give your time to, to basically those 2 of the 10 that are putting in the effort, that are getting the results. And he said, and oftentimes we're putting so much time in those other 8 because we don't want them to quit. or we're hoping we can motivate them or get them excited, or I just know they could be so good. I just know that they could, right? But again, guys, eat sweet doesn't lie. Okay, you cannot motivate anybody to do anything. Okay, you absolutely can't. They're either going to do it or they're not going to do it. So instead of focusing your time on all of the people who aren't doing the things, work with the two that are. How can I help you? How can we work together to make this even better? All right, because you may work with two people and completely change your entire business. But if you're so focused on the 8 that aren't doing anything, you're really missing the boat. Okay. He says that basically your top 20% doesn't necessarily need you, but that's where your return's coming from. That's where your business is coming from. So that's who you really need to focus on instead of trying to revive the dead. Okay. Does that make sense? So, what do you do at that time? And he was like, it's not going out to dinner and just chatting and saying how much you love them. It's figuring out what you can do together to make even bigger returns, to make it even bigger, help them even more. What do you need from each other, basically, right? And we talk about this with like matching efforts. And you guys, I am a 100% believer in this of, kind of latch onto those, those people that are working, that are going and like, look, I'm going to match you. And I do this all the time. You're bringing in distributors. I'm going to help you with customers. You're signing customers. I'm going to help you with distributors, but we're going to match efforts. I'm not building your team. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing that. It's not my job to build you a team, a successful business, but I will match your efforts if you are matching mine. Okay. So basically, like, how can you serve your top 20% on your team? Okay. And like I said, he said, like, basically this principle changed his life. He says the better that you get at it, the more that you're going to compound your success. Okay. The more you figure out where to put your time and who to put your time with, the more your success is going to be compounded and compounded and compounded. He says, think about it this way. When you have some, your day is crazy busy. Think about it this way. Do I need to be doing this right now? Okay. And if I don't need to be doing this right now, is this something that I can just stop doing? Is this even benefiting me? Or is this something I can ask somebody else to do? And this is something that a lot of like the upper leadership started doing was, maybe it's checking reports. Maybe it's checking downline activity. Maybe your husband wants to get involved. Maybe that's something you can delegate to him. If this is taking an hour of my day that I could be working on building my business, maybe teaching him to check your downline activities or to check and make sure people are fast start qualified. That's something that can be delegated, right? Is running those reports. And that's something that a lot of people do to free up that time to, really pour into reaching out to new potential distributors or loyal customers. And he talks about developing people. He says you're going to have people that just get it and that you pour your time and excitement into them. And you're like, oh my God, they're my rock star. Like, they're so amazing. I'm going to pour all of my time and effort into them. And then what happens? They quit. They leave. Right? And you're left brokenhearted. Oh my God, you guys, if I could count on how many times this happened to me, right? Like, I'm pouring so much time and effort and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, this is my ambassador. Like, I already know this is happening. And then they disappear. They go MIA, right? And you're literally left like brokenhearted. Okay. He talks about this. He says, and then you kind of develop the attitude of like, forget it. Fine. Then I'm just not going to pour my time into people like that. They're going to leave anyway. I'll just do my own thing and they can figure it out. Okay. Yeah, I've been there. So have you. But he says, I love this. He says that the only thing that's worse than training somebody and having them leave is not training them and having them stay. Okay? Because then what happens? You have become an enabler. And now they can do nothing on their own. And now they don't know how to do anything because you've done everything. Right? Like, and you created a monster. Okay. Oh God. Like, you guys, I've done this so many times. Like, I'll just do it. Like, it's fine. I'm not even going to teach them because they're probably going to quit anyway. You kind of get that attitude, right? And then they stay and then they don't know how to do anything. Right. So clearly, like, we have to train our people. We have to develop our people. And the more that you develop people, the more that you have created a duplicatable system, right? That's what this is all about. It's like, how can I do something that can be duplicated over and over and over again? And that's how you get that, crazy residual income. That's how your paychecks quadruple in 2 months, right? Because you're teaching people to do what you're doing, and then they're teaching their people to do that too. We talk about that with the steps to success. We talked about this on our Zoom last week. If you are, working and focusing on completing your steps to success and teaching the people in your downline to do the same thing, you guys, you can't help but promote. You can't help but double your business. Like, it just naturally is going to happen. But for some reason, that's not being taught, right? And we need to get back into that, okay? You turn on your auto shipment, you use the products, you sign your customers, and then we're going to work on signing distributors. And then your new people coming in, you're going to tell them the exact same thing, right? We create a duplicatable system that creates compound math, right? Like, that's how you get crazy, crazy numbers in your business. But we overcomplicate things a lot of times. And then they talk about, basically, activities aren't exactly accomplishments, right? Like, just because you're doing things to fill up your calendar or fill up your day doesn't mean you're being productive, right? Just because you're on Facebook doesn't mean you're doing anything income producing. So basically they said to know if you're actually accomplishing things is to look and see, did I add to my list today? Or did I add to my team today? And that's how you figure out if your activities are getting you to where you want to go, right? And if on most days you can't say one of those two things, then something in your activities needs to change. Okay? So basically think about where your time is going. Okay? That's it on that portion. Okay, so my thing that I love about this is I think a lot of the struggles that I hear more than anything is I'm just so busy, okay? And I think sometimes we can all feel like nobody gets it because they don't have a day like I do, or they aren't as busy as I am. They don't get it, okay? I think we've all felt that way, but the fact is we all have the same 24 hours in the day, right? Like, how are we going to prioritize when we have those moments, all right? How are we not going to have a bad attitude about being busy, but being excited that I can spend 5 minutes in like growing my business and what that could turn into? So I think it's so important to figure out where you're putting your time. And if you're feeling like you're so busy and you don't have time and you're not getting to where you want to go, I think you really need to look at what are you actually doing with that time, right? Like, are you doing the right things? Just because you're busy or that you are on your eSuite or that you're on Facebook, that doesn't necessarily mean you're doing what you should be doing to grow your business, right? Because I can sit on Facebook and scroll all day long. That doesn't mean that I've done anything to grow my business. So I think that comes into, working your 6 list. I think this is huge this month with working with your accountability partners that finally got set up. Sorry about that. And really being honed in on, where to put my time and who to put my time with. And you guys, I will be the first to admit that I am the number one. I am a believer and I love people and I believe in people giving people quadruple chances, okay? But something I've had to learn over the last year is that I can't focus my time on people that are not putting the time, putting the time in, because it was literally holding me back and my business was going this way instead of this way. Okay. So I think you really I want you to really think about that. And sometimes that's a hard conversation to have with yourself. Like, who am I spending my time with versus who do I really need to be putting my time with? Not the people I'm trying to get pepped up and get going. It's the people that are working. Those are the people I pour my time into, right? Like, I need to stoke that fire and keep them going and give them everything that they need, because that's who's going to change your business. It only takes one person on your team to completely change your life. So stop focusing on the downers. Stop focusing on the people that are negative and doing all of the wrong things and, oh, talk me out of quitting, and, oh, I just had a bad day and I'm so busy and I just can't, okay? When I get those messages, you guys, half the time I do not even respond to them. I don't have time for that crap. I do not have time for that. Moving on. I'm moving on. And you have to have that. You have to have that mindset, okay? And if you have the mindset of I'm continually going to bring people in, okay? I'm working my business and I'm thinking, of more, not less. and I have the mindset of people are going to come to me, right? Because I'm putting out what people want, right? Then they're going to come to you, and you're always going to have more people. But stop thinking like, feel like sometimes that we get stuck in this like, well, what if I can't sign anybody else? What if this is it? I got to keep these people. I got to keep every single one of them. And, oh my God, don't leave, right? But you guys, that's not gonna give you a long sustaining successful business. It's just not. Okay. Let's focus on who's working. Let's give them everything that they need, right? Let's build them up, because they are going to be the game changers. That's who our time needs to go to. I'm rambling. I'm totally rambling right now. Okay. Questions, comments, anything you want to put in? Say anything.
Hi.
Hi.
So Christy and I have talked about this.
Don't put my name in your mouth.
Christy. I have a couple of distributors who have been doing this since like not much longer than me, or I've been doing it longer anyway. And they are like distributor signing machines, which is amazing. And I keep telling them, you guys, I'm so proud of you for signing so many distributors. Now let's get the customers. But they keep signing distributors. Like, we aren't going to have any income if we don't have any customers. So
how do you deal with that? That is a great problem to have. So what I would say in that scenario is I personally am going to work on the customers. If they're bringing in the distributors, I'm going to do everything that I can to sign customers. But then I'm also going to work with all of those new people that they're bringing in to make sure that they're getting their first 4. Like teaching people. And I think this is another thing, is that we just assume that nobody's going to get their first 2 on their own. Why do we assume that? Why do we assume that? Most of you on here probably got your first 4 all by yourself. Mostly, right? So we have to assume and teach people to get their own first 2 customers. Okay, now we're going to go for 4, okay? Because if we're just handing them customer after customer after customer after customer, they're like, they don't know what to do, right? So, but when I have somebody that is signing distributors like crazy, guess what? I'm going to start signing customers, and I'm going to do host to post. I'm posting stories. I'm messaging, because if it is, I'm going to try to
match their effort,
right? Like, I'm going to stoke that as much as I can. Now, if it's the other way around, same thing. If let's say that you are the one that's signing distributors like crazy, what I would do is I'm going to put a distributor on your team. Okay. But now I would have this conversation before I even place them on their team. Okay. I have a distributor and I would love to put them on your team, but I need you to help me with the volume. I need you to help me make sure that they get their first 2 customers right away. And then I need you to help me make sure they get to 400 this month. And then if they're going to be like, okay, right now there's a clear expectation. Now we're going to match efforts. But I would have that conversation before I even put that distributor on their team, and not say, hey, I just put somebody on your team. You know what I mean? Like
something Tim Souter said the other day too, and it makes such sense. Like, I thought that I was doing them a service by helping people get their first 2 and putting them on their team. But like, when you think about the people on your team, when they get their first customer and you help them talk, like, okay, message them this next, or you give them a script to follow, and then they have that sense of accomplishment. You know, that rush doesn't go away when you sign a customer. I still feel it. And that's what keeps people in it. Like, there's a new, I say girl, she's like Chad's second cousin. So I always think of her like this big, but she's a grown woman now. But she signed 3 customers this week, and she's new, and she's so excited. I could not have generated that excitement in her had I just given her 2 customers. And it wasn't like I wasn't working to help her do that. I just hadn't gotten to her in my list of people yet, but she's so excited. Like, she's on fire now. Her soul is on fire. And so when Pam, I call her Pam now, when she said that, I was like, oh my gosh, that's so true. I think I was doing a disservice because I was saying to them, I don't think you can get customers, so I'm going to give you 2. So you at least get something out of this business. So it's that whole, you know, in education, we say, I do, we do, you do. It's that turning over of the responsibility and like teaching people, like walking them through it hand in hand until they have their first victory. I'm seeing that more this month because I'm being more conscious of that. My mind shifted on that. Mm-hmm. Plus, I think just overall as a team, we're bringing in so many distributors. Like we as leaders, we can't, like you can't get everybody too on your teams because your guys' teams are blowing up. There's no way physically you can do it. Maybe you can, I don't know, but you may not sleep.
Now, don't get me wrong. I don't miss a fast start bonus. Absolutely, hands down, I'm not going to miss a fast start bonus. So, but before I start placing customers under those people, I'm trying to get them excited and tell them how to do that, right? We're getting a party started right away. I'm helping them with some posts right away. And we're working on maybe a list of like 10, 20 people for them to reach out to right away, right? Because there's no reason, guys, with family and close friends, like everybody should be able to get 4 customers, in my opinion. Like, I feel like that's not outlandish, right? But she's exactly right. The people that stick around and want more and more and more are the people that get those early wins. The first early win that most people get is signing a customer, and it feels good and they're excited, right? So if you're like handing them tons of customers and they're like, they're not feeling that, what are they sticking around for, right? Because you already know their first month paycheck isn't going to be great. So, you have to give them those like big wins so that they can see what that feels like and get that excitement going. Those are the people that stay.
My newest distributor is enjoying the chase.
Yes.
Crazy, but she's loving it. And so
yes.
I purposely have not given her a customer yet because she's like, I'm going to get this one. I'm going to get this one. I'm like, you do it.
Yeah.
So now I just need to
know those people that are, getting towards their, like maybe towards the end of their 30 days, or maybe really we're just like a customer turned, I just want to pay for my products, like that aren't really necessarily trying to get customers. Then clearly that's a different scenario because you don't want to miss those fast starts. And once you guys all hit diamond, you definitely don't want to miss the fast starts plus those cabs. So you're going to make sure that they get those customers. But I think, Christy's exactly right. Like, don't take away that initial excitement from them, because those are the ones that get excited and they want to stick around.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I have a question.
Yes.
How long should you try and handhold a distributor? Because Christy knows about, I've got 2 distributors that signed up and then they kind of went radio silent. And so I've been like sending them something to do every day because they said everything was just so much for them. So I've been sending them something every day. Here's a post you can do. What product are you, excited to try? And I'll create a post for you in the picture and really handhold, but they just don't respond. One did on Saturday and then nothing. So I'm like, I don't mind helping and giving them posts or things to do, but they're not doing anything back. So how long should you wait before you just kind of move on?
Right now. I mean that. I mean, did anybody have to send you something to post?
No. Christy, you didn't send me anything to post, did you?
Oh, come on.
No.
Okay, you know what I mean? Never have I ever had to be like.
I think the first couple of days, like I sent you everybody stuff to do, but like the people that are going to do it.
Yes. Your first couple of posts, that's different.
I can't send you enough. It's like, feed me, and then I just go here.
Yeah. And that's my thing, is that we have so many resources. Like, think about like the Signing Loyal Customers page, the first 25 post page, the stories page, the team pages, like everything that they could possibly want is literally a copy and paste away. Right. And if they're not willing to do that, they're not going to do anything. Right. So I definitely would not build them by any means. And you have to think about, like, you have to grow your own business. And if you're so busy, making sure, have you done this today? Here's a post. Try this. Oh, please don't. No, it's okay. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Let's do this. Like trying to like keep them here. Let them go. Let them go.
I do think there's something to be said though at the beginning, like giving like some daily, like here's a list of people to follow and here's a post you can do. But if they're not reciprocating and like actually doing the post, and like sometimes I'll say, here's a post you can do, give me a thumbs up when you've posted it, and then we can talk about how to respond. But if you're just sending stuff out into the great abyss and they're not,
and she's exactly right. I'm not talking about within their first, 3 days to a week. That's normal. Like, let's give you some steps because they don't know what to do. Right. But past that, if they're like, I just can't, if they're just not doing anything, then it's not worth your time.
Yeah, I've sent messages, I've, emailed, I've text message, I've voice message, I've used Messenger,
Yep.
and I know they've read it like on Messenger because you can tell, but then there's nothing, there's no response. And, I'm trying to work my business plus work full time, plus,
Yeah.
everything that everybody else has. And it's
Right.
very time consuming. So
Perfect.
I hate to walk away, but then I kind of feel like I need to just walk away, but
And here's the thing too, at some point, they know that you've tried to help. And at some point, something may change for them and they may come and they may be like, okay, hey, I'm so sorry, but now I'm ready. Right. And I've had that happen a lot of times, but you're exactly right. Like you have got to work on, what is income producing for you and trying to like keep people from quitting or just trying to get them going forever and ever and ever. Like, okay, you've been in over a month and you still haven't posted anything or like, you can't.
I think too, because Pam Souder talks about this a lot too, and then back to education, we talk about this in education too. You walk with the walkers and you run with the runners, and so you run with your runners, and that doesn't mean that you leave your other people behind. Or like Stephanie Dunn will say it. She said, like, I'm going to run. I'm going to look back every once in a while and go, come on, but I'm not going to slow my roll for you. Like if you decide you want to jump in with me, that's great. Like I would never burn a bridge with anyone because sometimes, like there are people in our leadership team, Carrie, that they watched for a good month, and then something flipped. Like Suzanne will talk about it. It was a live video that Brittany did, and something in what Brittany said flipped a switch in her, and she was like,
I'm ready.
to go. And now she's won from Double Diamond. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't count anyone out, but you run with your runners, look back, come on, check in, but don't let that get in the headspace of your business.
Yep.
okay.
In my mind, that fuels me, and I just go, I'll replace your ass. You know what I mean? Like that's how I think about it.
Well, you got to think about I think too, like there's, and if even for people that are just getting started, I think the momentum right now is absolutely insane, right? So if you're not even going to put in a little bit of effort when you already know that it is crazier right now than it normally is, that says a lot, right? So yeah, let them know that you're there. Like, hey, I know you're not responding to me. I'm, trying to help you get going, but like this is a crazy month. Just, if you're ever ready, let me know. And that they may be like, oh, what, right? But yeah, I mean, you just got to pour into the people that are working.
All right. Thank you.
And that's hard, you guys. And I'm not going to say that was something easy that I finally came to the grips to, because let's be honest, it probably took me a good 2 years to finally get to the point where I was like, moving on. Nope. No time for that. I'm moving on. Nope. I mean, but that's something that you're going to grow into. Like you just will, because you're going to feel capable in and of yourself. Your confidence is going to grow, and then your belief in your team as well, that this isn't just me building this team, right? Like I'm working with all these people, and people are going to come and go nonstop. Part of it, nonstop. People are going to come in and people are going to go out. And once you kind of get to the point where that is not something that stops you in your tracks or gets you down in the dumps, the better off and the quicker that you're going to build. Okay. Because there's always going to be more people. There's always going to be more. Anybody else? Anybody? Nothing? Okay. So, next week or the next time we meet, we're going to talk about, foundation of leaderships and character and all that stuff a little bit with the John Maxwell stuff too. So we'll dive into that a little bit and talk about more, obviously, as the month goes on and we kind of figure out where everybody's at, getting close to next promotions and all of that, then we can talk about whatever you guys need to. And in the meantime, okay, so we'll meet 2 Mondays from now. In the meantime, if you guys feel like there's something that you really need help with, message me or one of the leaders, and we will make sure that we touch on that for you. Okay? All right, guys. I love you all. I'm super duper proud of you. Thank you for your time tonight. We will talk soon. Bye.